Alright, hello guys. Today I'm going to be bringing you my updated winter forecast. It's been about 2 months since I made the first one, and I just wanted to bring some slight updates to the whole forecast and everything, just because things are changing, and I wanted to, bring everything to the table just to show you guys everything that's changed with the forecast. Some things have changed a lot, and some things have only changed a little bit, and we'll see that in a second. But before I get on with the video, I'd please ask that you would subscribe if you do enjoy weather videos like this. I make seasonal forecasts and monthly forecasts, and also forecasts for current storms and things like that, as well as live streams where I like to interact with you guys. So if you do enjoy content like that, please subscribe. Also, like the video if you do like videos like this, or you did like this video. Also, comment and let me know what you think. Without further ado, let's get into the video. I'm going to go ahead and start with my precipitation anomaly forecast. Now, still looking at below average precipitation in the Pacific Northwest. This is what really hasn't changed. This is very typical of an El Nino, which I've been calling for months now. An El Nino, Mordecai El Nino, possibly just a normal El Nino, but it doesn't really matter. Below average precipitation for these areas. Also, above average precipitation for the southeastern United States, as well as the whole eastern seaboard, getting in on some of that slightly above average precipitation. Portions of Texas and Oklahoma, this is where I expect a lot of nor'easters to start to develop. Usually these things develop in the Kansas, Nebraska area, and then kind of slide down and start to pull in some of that Gulf moisture. That's where a lot of rain could fall in Oklahoma and Texas with these systems, and I've seen it time and time again. Very typical. Now, for your temperature forecast, this is where things have changed quite a bit. Still above average temperature for California, Nevada, Oregon, as well as slightly above average temperatures for most of the western United States. What's really changed about this, though, is actually the placement of the cold air. I have stronger cold air as well as a little bit of a different placement. Now, you'll notice that there's slightly below average temperatures throughout the entire eastern United States. This is really what I'm calling for. My models are calling for this, my analogs are calling for this, everything is leaning towards this. Slightly below average temperatures as of right now. I might mention that my final winter forecast is expected to be up towards the end of November. I might make one or two before that. It just really depends how often things change slightly like they did for this one, and I will update it for you guys because I don't really like to hide information from you guys or hold it back for too long. I like to completely be upfront with everything, so I like to inform all of you on everything that's going on, and that's, I think, what makes me different here on the weather community. Now, you'll notice that there's this big cold pull of air over basically the Great Lakes, but mostly Wisconsin and, the southwestern portion of those regions. This is really where I think that the polar vortex will set up a lot, and I'm going to get more into why I think that this will be very, very frigid in just a minute. There's a lot of things going into it, so just stay tuned for that portion of the video. But really cold air there. Now, getting onto the snowfall forecast, not a lot has changed here either. Below average snowfall in the Pacific Northwest, obviously, because there will be less precipitation. Less precipitation means less snow. Now, above average from the middle portion of Minnesota down through Arkansas and then back through the Carolinas. So basically the entire eastern United States that actually gets snow will be getting slightly above average snow. And then in an area of above average snowfall, basically taking over the entire northeastern United States, northern mid-Atlantic United States, New England, and portions of Kentucky and Tennessee. These areas will see a lot more snow than they typically see, something similar to 2009-2010 or like 2014 to 2015, probably more like 2014 to 2015 because 2009 and 2010 had extremely above average snow, especially in the Maryland, Delaware area, Northern Virginia, where they just got battered with snowstorms during December and January. So I don't expect all that to happen, but it's certainly possible. But yeah, above average snowfall for the northeastern United States. Now for my personal favorite, the overall forecast, we'll move from northwest to the eastern United States. So starting with below average precipitation in the Oregon, Washington, Northern California area, I've already covered that. Things begin to slow down early December for the Rocky Mountains. Now, I expect that there will be a lot of snow, through October and November and December. This is very typical, but starting early December, it's not going to be quite as snowy. This is also very typical. This isn't really below average snow. Things really slow down towards the middle portion of the winter, and then they start to heat back up during March and April, which I'm not covering in my winter forecast because that's actually spring. So that will be in my spring forecast when I forecast what the snowfall will be like for there during April, May, those times. Warmer than average for the southwestern United States. Again, I showed this in my temperature forecast. Shouldn't be too out of the normal for you guys. You guys should recognize this because this is kind of what it's been for the past few years, so it's going to feel very similar to how it has felt. Then we have kind of this divide in the whole pattern here in this gray area. Average conditions through the Dakotas, Kansas, Nebraska, portions of Colorado, and Texas, areas like that. You'll be expecting average conditions. Really, you won't be able to say that it was cold or warm or snowy or not snowy. That's what it should be like. Obviously, there will be some areas in there where it's not average, but yeah. Frigid conditions, polar vortex making frequent visits in this purple region in the Great Lakes region, as well as Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri. I really expect, like I said, for very frigid conditions as of right now to be making, frequent troughing in this region. Very, very cold, sub-zero temperatures. I'm going to get more into the reasoning why. I have my reasons, obviously. So stay tuned for that. That pink region is going to be the winter battle zone. Now, there is some confusion with the winter battle zone, what this means. This just means that this is where rain and snow will be battling, basically, for will it be rain or will it be snow. It's going to be where there's a lot of mixed precipitation, lots of icy things like that. That's what the winter battle zone means. It's the battle of cold and warm. Now, chilly and wet for Louisiana and portions of coastal Texas. It's not going to be as wet as some portions of the region that are east of here, but it's going to be pretty chilly and pretty wet. Not something too untypical, so it won't be too noticeable, but that's what overall it will be like. Very wet in this green region, though. This is where a lot of storms are going to be making an impact. Heavy rains expected, especially north of Florida, I would say. North of Florida. That's where I think the storm track will go through and bring some pretty heavy downpours, and I think that really you're going to be expecting to see a lot of rainy days there. Now, in this turquoise bluish area, a few snowstorms are expected. I would say expect a few 4-inch plus snowstorms, especially in the southern region of that. The northern region, you could expect a little bit more bigger snowstorms, I guess you could say. And then last but not least, New England, you're expecting blizzard conditions frequently, lots of blizzards. Now, also there was a lot of confusion about this because I called for this in my last forecast as well. I'm calling for more blizzards than normal when I say that. I'm not calling for just blizzards in general because obviously there will be a few blizzards almost every winter there, but there should be a couple more than you would normally expect. That's what I mean by that. Now, this is the portion of the video where if you're not very interested in the science of weather, then you might want to just click off because this is where things are going to get a lot more technical. But if you are interested in seeing this and my reasoning behind my forecast, this would be important to view. Now, my long-range forecast process includes current sea surface temperatures. That's my most important. ENSO is included in sea surface temperatures, but that is the most important area of sea surface temperatures. Other oscillations are also included that I won't mention because there's dozens of them. Sunspot activity is also very important. Analog years, important, and long-range models, slightly important. Not too important this far out, though. Now, we're going to take a look at the current sea surface temperature, see what's going on. See, in the just south of Mexico, you can see there's very warm temperatures there. That's really where the El Nino is setting up, and you can see it's warmed a lot. We're going to go to the 7-day change in just a second, but you can see it's warmed a lot. The PDO still very confused, very concerned about that because that's going to make the forecast very hard to make as long as that can't make up its mind. Warm temperatures still in the Atlantic right off the east coast. Nothing's changing there too much. Yeah, that's all I have to mention there. Now, the 7-day change, you can see the ENSO region is warming up a lot. Again, the ENSO is it's south of Mexico. You can see where those reds are. That's right where the ENSO region is, right on the equator. That's where El Nino or La Nina sets up. Right now, we're developing an El Nino. You can see that the PDO has actually gone negative as far as the change in the last 7 days. Again, very concerning. And a lot of cooling off the East Coast. That's going to bring those temperatures down, and we'll see how long that continues to happen for. Also, warming south of Greenland. This is very good for snowy pattern. If you want a Greenland block, we're going to need to see a lot of warming in that area start to develop. Now, I wanted to show you the equatorial temperature anomaly as far as the T depth goes, which is basically, we're looking at the depth of the water. You see a lot of warm water that is underneath the surface, and this is going up slowly but surely, and you can see that most of it is to the west. That's important to mention because that is going to cause a Mordecai El Nino. If it was more towards the east, that would just be a typical El Nino. You can see there's even cold waters on the very eastern portion. That's interesting to mention. Now here is the snowpack of 2012, 2014, and today. This is all September 27th or approximately around then. For these years, you could notice that 2012 there wasn't a lot in those orange areas. That's where there was snow cover. There wasn't a lot besides Greenland and then some areas of Russia. Now in 2014, you can see that there's a lot more area covered by snow, especially in Russia and some portions of Canada and Alaska. And then you can see that today in 2018 there's even more than there was in 2014. Not really in Russia, but mostly in Canada, which is actually more important than Russia, but it's all important. Now, this would usually lead to colder temperatures where it is below average, maybe by even 5 to 10 degrees, depending on how much more snow there is. It's interesting to mention that over the next 2 weeks is usually when we see a lot of development in this, and the area grows a lot throughout all of Canada and Russia. That's when we'll really know if we're seeing above average or below average snowpack. Just wanted to mention that that's above average. That's leading me to believe that we will have pretty frigid temperatures. That's one of the reasons. Now looking at the sunspot activity, you will notice that we're in the lower portion of the cycle here. If you look towards the very right, you'll notice that 2018 is right towards the bottom. This means there's less sunspot activity going on than there typically would be, and it's usually below average temperatures somewhere in the United States when we get a year like this. Now you'll notice that 2015, which was a very warm winter, 2015 to 2016 was much higher than we are right now, and also other winters in the early 2000s that were warm were a lot higher in sunspot activity. So there's a lot of trends there. Now people really pushed me to include this in my forecast. This was something that I always knew about. It's just something that I didn't mention, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it now. We're going to look at, this is years where we were in a similar sunspot activity cycle, or we were in a very similar spot in the cycle. December to February 1994 and 2008 were years that were pretty close to where we're at right now in the cycle this year. Now next year will be 1995 and 2009, but we'll get on the next year once we're there, obviously. You'll notice that there's very frigid temperatures up in Canada and dipping down into the United States. This is pretty typical in a high snowpack year and also in a sunspot activity where there's very cold temperatures up north and they're dipping in. That's the main reason I'm calling for very cold temperatures to be somewhere in the United States. Right now, again, I'm calling for the Wisconsin, Iowa area. Now, here is December to March 2009 to 2010. This is one of my analog years. I don't like this one quite as much. Now, a lot of people like this one. It really disagrees with a lot of what I'm saying, keeping the colder temperatures in the south and then really warm temperatures more in Canada. I think that the colder temperatures will be in the northern United States, not the southern United States. This would be typical of an El Nino, though, which is interesting to mention. Also, another very close analog year, which would worry a lot of snow lovers, is 2015 to 2016, where we experienced basically warm temperatures throughout the entire United States, not even a single area of below average temperatures. So this is also very interesting to mention. I don't see this happening, but it is certainly possible. And then 2014 to 2015 right here, this is my number one analog. This is the one that I agree with the most. You could literally see it on my forecast that this is the one that I agree with the most because it completely agrees with everything I'm saying. Now, it's interesting to mention I usually don't use the CFS because it has a warm bias, but Though it's calling for warm temperatures over the entire United States, you'll notice that it has very cold temperatures in Canada. Now, all we need is for there to be a positive AO, which would mean that there is warmer temperatures over the polar region, and then that would push that cold air down. So the cold air is there, it's just they're not calling for it to be over the United States yet. So it's very possible that they will come around and show something very similar to what my forecast calls for. Now, here's the Jamstack. On the left is the July run of this forecast, which I have shown before, and then on the right is the September run, and you'll see the differences. Very cold in most of the United States on the very left, and you'll notice that the El Nino was quite weak. Now on the right, you'll notice that the El Nino is a bit stronger as far as how warm the temperatures are, as well as the very confused PDO still. And you'll notice that they're calling for warm temperatures throughout the entire United States. So that's really what's going to determine this a lot, is how strong that El Nino is. If the El Nino gets really strong, you're going to expect warm temperatures throughout the entire United States like 2015 to 2016. But if it stays weaker, you'll expect more conditions that were pretty similar to 2014 to 2015 or 2009 to 2010, something like that. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I enjoy bringing a winter forecast to you guys, like I said. I like to make more forecasts than somebody would normally make. Somebody would normally just make one forecast. I like to keep updating you guys with what's going on in the forecast as I'm figuring stuff out, just so you can see the entire process and not really just get the results, because that would be quite confusing. I like to bring you guys the information as I get it, because this is more of a, I guess, educational and breaking it down type channel rather than just bringing you the final forecast and not really explaining it. I like to break it down and everything. I hope you guys enjoy that as well. That about my channel. Again, I think that's what makes my channel unique. Anyway, if you guys have any video suggestions, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this forecast too in the comments. I love seeing you guys' comments. And like I said before, make sure to like this video if you did like it, and subscribe if you like content like this. I'll see you guys later.